Jubilee from Brooklyn, New York, but right now I'm on Queen Street in Toronto. I came here to judge the Red Bull Freestyle World Finals. But before I do, I'm going to walk around and visit some DJs and producers out of the area, find out what they're up to.
My name's Paul Murphy, better known as Skratch Bastid. Well, yeah, I got my start in battles. That was my platform, and I think that it's so important to have these places for people to get out and get their name out and try performing on a stage in front of hundreds of people for the first time. So you got all these different cultures of people living in Toronto, and they all like to represent their music. And it's a great thing to play because you're kind of open to that variety. As a DJ, that's like a real pleasure because you're welcome to do whatever you want and get a little bit deeper rather than just scratching the surface of everything. When I see keys and crates, that's what I view like the future of DJing, like the applications that Flo is using. Instead of kind of like going towards a more kind of niche-y, nerdy thing, he's really like out there doing experimental stuff, but you know, making it fun.
No, don't say studio because that's embarrassing to us. Just say this is our hole. This is our shithole.
Because we started off as a very like sort of rap band, and we were all listening to different stuff, like indie stuff and electronic stuff, and we just kind of got interested in it at the same time. Toronto's kind of in New York in that a lot of people from surrounding places end up there.
You have to, it's the only
like
place
nobody
to go.
in New York is from New York.
So tell me about Grand Theft.
We did a whole like Canadian tour with him, and he bought a pair of sweatpants the second day, and he just wore them the entire tour. And we have all these pictures of him wearing these like terrible, these weren't like fashionable, cool these are like Walmart sweatpants.
Keys and crates. Do I actually like them? That's a tough question.
Are these cameras on?
When we signed with DJ AM's camp in LA, we started a team up in Canada called the A-Team, and we signed on Illo from Ottawa, Headspin from Vancouver, Junior Flow from Toronto, and Pump from Calgary, and eventually DRASTIK from Ottawa. In Toronto, I think like the best thing about it is that everyone's hustling and working on music, and there's great events. There's so much going on in Toronto. And then the worst thing is that everyone's working so hard.
I remember going to Montreal and seeing Grand Theft and all those guys DJ out there and just being like, wow, you know, like it was so game changing. The Red Bull Freestyles, it's a crazy fusion of ideas that no one has ever done before. There was a lot of shenanigans that went on backstage and on stage, and at one point I'm pretty sure someone's pants were ripped clean off of their body.
What is so erotic about Autoerotique?
There was this guy, it was a Canadian TV show called Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, and he went to Thailand and he died doing autoerotic asphyxiation with a bunch of Thai prostitutes.
Which is why your song's called Asphyxiation?
And why the group is also called Autoerotic, yeah. Every time I watch like CSI and those shows, it's all about autoerotic asphyxiation. And I'm like, guys, just get a new topic, you know? You're killing my buzz.
No, it's probably good for you.
I'm trying to keep it taboo, not mainstream. There's also guys who have sex with cars. My Google alert goes off from my name because it has this like autoerotic, right? That's like people who love cars also, but it's not the same thing. And I can't click through most of my emails now.
Is there anything that I should ask Torro Torro when I meet them?
Just ask Ev how much bacon he's eaten lately.
You're like mad particular. We were eating breakfast like 2 days ago and he's like, I don't like how everyone's using this Applewood bacon these days. I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, what's the difference? And he's like, it's very tough and chewy. And he was like getting into details about bacon.
When I spoke to Autoerotic, he described your sound as tropical bass.
Keith doesn't know shit though, so don't even listen to him. We played like this really like kind of small local party that we kind of got in a lot of heat for because it was called Club Baby Seal. And like a lot of people were like not so down with that type of humor.
And let's remember that that was Keith's idea to call it that.
Yeah.
And it had like a seal getting clubbed on the flyer. And like animal services people were on the website and reported it and shit. I'm a public enemy, you know?
We can trade. Thursday? Thursday.
Oh! THUGLI, what up?
For the most part, we've been making, I guess, hate using the word trap, but it's the word to use now, I guess. Yeah, I know, cringeworthy word. Trap, EDM, the cringers. I decided to move to Toronto from Ottawa, and we just started making music together like we kind of always have been, and we had a couple of songs and we were like, we should figure out a name.
Is THUGLI Snuggly?
Don't you have a Snuggie? I do. I have an embarrassing picture of me in a Snuggie and someone photoshopped Snuggly on top of it.
The Red Bull Freestyle World Finals. Have you guys ever entered that?
I did it in 2010 and won the Canadian Championships, went to the World Championships. There's only 2 rules. You have to play at least 3 different styles of music. And the other rule, I think, is just you have 15 minutes to do it.
And if you play a Vici song, you get extra 50 points. No disrespect to Vici.
You know, secret entrances through weird elevators in back alleyways and you know, just interesting things like that. So yeah, I mean, I actually haven't found an after hours scene like the one in Toronto anywhere, and I do a lot of traveling for work, so.
What do you think is the after hours scene now compared to when you were throwing after hours?
I mean, it's weird, it really goes in waves. It's like right now, GINGY, Brian Wong is kind of throwing most of the after hours.
We have such antiquated liquor laws, which make it so hard for clubs to go really late. So I guess everybody's just taking it into their own hands and like giving up their loft to throw something cool.
What do you listen to that's not dance music?
I don't know.
You don't listen to Drake?
Like Grand Theft Auto.
I know that you have Nautilus on the same Dover Court compilation as you, and apparently he's in the apartment next door.
No, he's literally like the other room in this apartment.
So we're gonna go talk to him now.
Let's do it.
This is Nautilus. Everyone in Toronto has a pretty legit community. Even the genres that are different seem to be pretty tight-knit.
We kind of have to, just because there's like not a ton of support from like promoters for locals, like local only things. We are sort of forced to just like DIY it. Well, I just really got into like Cronenberg's films. I've been writing a bunch of stuff that's kind of influenced by his like earlier films.
This board has some history. This board was used to mix a whole bunch of David Cronenberg movies like Naked Lunch and Crash and stuff. I met GINGY a few years ago, but only in the past 2 years have we really kind of gotten tight. We're in Montreal and GINGY's got nowhere to sleep, and actually no, that was someone else.
Alphonse or Fonzie grew up in Hamilton.
That's right, the armpit of Ontario. It's like growing up in Blue Valley. It's growing up in a David Lynch movie. You know those small towns that he's always big about? And that evil that lurks in the shadows and kind of possesses people? Hamilton's full of that. I mean, we used to find dead crucified animals in the bush because I guess some heavy metal Satanists had been there just before us. For better or for worse, maybe one day I'll grow out of it, but I'm into that grinding, dark negativity still. And like flirting with disaster, flirting with chaos, things kind of falling apart at the seams, kind of the way our society is. Electronic music still has, I think a lot of its roots were in art, you know, to be able to create a more of arty sound than was capable with normal instruments, right? You went to that party, right?
Yeah,
you mentioned.
DJ.
Yeah, I was in my Unabomber mode there.
You were.
I was having fun though. I ended up getting the DJ for like 2 hours straight.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Belarus inside joke.
What does that mean?
It's Belarus.
We'll bring that out when we see him.
Say EGYPTRIXX,
Yeah.
Belarus. I have no idea. Belarus. Most other nationalities or like national identities tend not to like be such willing participants in like the stereotyping of themselves.
Like
we
what?
don't. Oh, like I don't know, hockey and fucking
Drake.
Multiculturalism and toques. I don't know, shit like that. The one cohesive element I think of people making electronic or dance music in Toronto is that everyone seems to be on their own thing, on their own tip, which may be the result of the fact that there is no central sound or venue or night. There's no pressure to sound a specific way.
I'm going to be meeting up with Bruce Trail later on today. Do you know him?
Yeah, I've known Scott for a while. He probably knows more about like analog synthesizers and using them than anyone I've met. He's like a real studio wizard.
Yeah, so this is Halro's place. That's what everyone seems to call it. It's the home of a lot of music people.
There's Darcy and Lucie, who live right there. Chris and Linus from Jokers of the Scene, and I have a studio thing upstairs. So Boots Trail is a trail that goes from Tobermory to Niagara in southern Ontario. My parents live right off it. When I was younger, I used to go like to raves or whatever in Toronto to like jungle parties. And when I got home, there were no buses, so I had to walk up the Bruce Trail, and I got to know it really well so that I didn't have to actually see anything. I could just like blindly walk up this forested escarpment. I just did a track with Chris. We have a project called Water Walker, and our first track is gonna be 12-inch on Neighborhood Watch.
Chris from Jokers of the Scene.
Yeah, Chris from Jokers of the Scene. I think they're outside if you want to go around the corner and check it out.
Oh wow, it does look crazy from up here.
It's like a Excite bike.
Scott is an amazing studio technician and knows how to make all these things wire together and talk to each other, and we had never really done that kind of thing before. So
Scott is your tech support also.
Yeah, he's our support. Yeah, it's great.
He's definitely tech support.
Toronto's local tech support.
Yeah, everybody on the phone.
I think being here has allowed us to be a lot more creative.
Yeah.
So I think we make our strongest work, and we're still able to get or to explore more. So we've always been an ever-evolving thing, so I think Toronto's a good place to be around peers who are doing all sorts of different kinds of things and be inspired by that.
I'm trying to remember when we first met Lucie. I think it was at a Jokers gig, and I think she was a radio DJ at the time, and she had been playing on the radio some of our earliest tracks.
I always knew like Toronto was kind of like the place I wanted to be. It's like the media capital of Canada. Wrong Bar often, like monthly, we do Slowed. And that happens like,
seems to be.
Yeah, it's definitely like the big to-do night in Toronto. That happens like once a month.
And who do you do that party with?
Torro Torro. The night that we had Bauer at Slowed was just, there was so much energy in the room, like it was insane. And it was obviously way before the whole Harlem shit. I don't even want to say that, you know what I mean? But the Harlem it was so nice to see everyone just like light up the second that every drop happened, you know?
When I think about how much influence just this place, this apartment building has really had on the city, it's kind of mind-blowing.
The first party, I used to throw a party called Slut School in at a shitty dive bar that was owned by Hungarian gangsters. Party-wise, I've been focusing on a project that called Neighborhood Watch that is sort of brought together a lot of the DJ community in Toronto, and we just pool the money and we're going to put out a series of digital and vinyl releases. Embrace does everything in Toronto. They've just come out, I mean, they're really dominating Toronto in terms of just all the good bookings, and they're fucking killing it. I wound up working with them through just because through Ryan we had worked on just worked together on a few shows, and just really got along.
Yeah, it's like I've seen from Zeds Dead, like from the start of kind of their career when they were playing, at 751, which is like a really small venue in a basement. No one really cared, and then it started kind of all snowball. They weren't really getting like any love from kind of like the dubstep community at the time. And they were like, okay, fuck this, we're gonna just do our own thing.
I should say that in Toronto there was this party at a bar called Timeless. It was a cool scene. Like they had this huge like subwoofer, and it really helped, like I was saying, to understand what that music is supposed to be like. Like it's something that you feel as well as listen to.
Yeah, that was one of the first places that I went to too, where I actually heard dubstep on a proper subwoofer bass system. It was like an actual dub reggae bar, and they had like a dub system, so that was dope. If I go out on a particular night, or if we happen to be home for a weekend, which like hardly ever happens, then we'll see a lot of, there's definitely a circle and a scene, a crew of people that we'll see the Torro Torro guys a lot, and Hunter Siegel and those boys out.
I did throw parties with Zeds Dead for quite a while. It was just like absolutely the most insane stuff. We were in like this really small venue, and it was right before we like moved to like a big one. The fire marshal was called like 5 times, and when they came in, there was kids. It was in like an 80-person room, and there was probably 300 people in it, and there were kids like pulling wires out of the ceiling and like hanging off of them. And the owner came down, and she was like, "You have to shut this shit down like right now." And I remember Dylan actually was like, no, forget that. He like kept trying to play, and they just walked up and ripped everything out of the setup and just shut it down.
We're going to go visit Marcus Visionary later.
Okay.
And he is a drum and bass DJ from Toronto, correct?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's actually been around for a very long time. He was, when I was first here and getting into the scene, I used to go watch him play at a really seedy club called The Basement. And I kind of hate that I just admitted I was there too. And yeah, we were all just like, he was like the dude from Toronto who was just like our like shining knight in armor who like actually like took us international.
Like 1991, 92, we had a really massive rave scene here. We really mimicked what was happening in Britain. But like this is the first time, I think, because of the EDM thing, Toronto is resembling for the first time more of what's happening in the US. Whereas for 20 years, we resembled a lot more of what was happening in the UK. It does make me a little bit sad, you know, but I know that everything changes, you know, like it's all cycles. Because Britain is not being affected by any of the outside trends, the music's still being made there. It's generally unaffected, so there's a lot of really great drum and bass all the time. So people always come back to it. That's what I think.